Ever since I've returned from vacation, people have been asking me about the Chattanooga shooting and what my opinions are. Unfortunately, they're specifically asking me about things like the political aspects of the shooting. They're politicizing it. Everyone seems to be politicizing this shooting, and that's what we don't need to be doing right now. That's the worst thing we could be doing. Especially since people don't seem to be getting it right when they are politicizing it. People are saying things like, well, this is all because of a law that passed under Clinton. Even Jeb Bush was saying that. And that's kind of ironic because it's not because of a law passed under Clinton. It's because of a directive passed under his father, the original George Bush. So you think maybe he would have the facts and get it straight. But apparently politicizing something is more important than being correct. The other political side of it everyone keeps talking about is why Obama's not lowering the flags to half-mast. Well, really, I'm wondering, well, why should we be? Now, I know the flags are supposed to be lowered to half-mast when people are mourning, and people dying like this is a reason to be mourning. But it's supposed to be a sign of national mourning, like everyone is in deep mourning. And I don't think this case is that. Now, I got no problem lowering the flag for these 4 or 5 people that were killed. They were soldiers, they were killed, it's a tragedy. We should be mourning their deaths. But we lose soldiers almost every day overseas in wars that we probably shouldn't be fighting. We lose soldiers every day to their own hands because of mental illness, PTSD, depression. We don't see people lowering the flags for that every day. So to me, when we say, well, we need to lower the flags to half-mast for these people, but not the soldiers we lose every day, we do 2 things we shouldn't do. And one of those is we give the terrorists what they want. We say, you've injured us. We're mourning nationally. Everyone in the country is mourning now because of something you did. You've hurt us gravely. That's giving them what they want. And plus, it plays into the hands of the anti-gunners because we somehow pretend that these 4 soldiers' lives being lost is somehow more tragic and more preventable because it was done by someone in this country with a gun. So therefore, it's worse. It's worse because it was done by someone that's a citizen who so easily got a gun and went out and killed people. We're giving them what they want. We're giving them fodder for their anti-gun arguments. So I don't like this whole debate and the way it's being structured. I don't like arguing about whether flags should be at half-mast and whether someone's a bad guy for not doing it or who passed the law or the regulation that says they can't have guns on bases. I don't think we should be talking about all that. What we should be talking about is the real issue. And the real issue is that places like military installations are being left as soft targets. And they're very desirable targets to terrorists. And I hate to break it to people, we do have an issue right now with terrorism. There are countries out there that are waging war with us. Just because we choose not to recognize it and say we're at war with them doesn't mean they're not at war with us. So we shouldn't be making our targets that they want to hit easier to hit. And it's the same to a lesser extent with schools. Why should schools be unprotected? Those are our children, one of our greatest assets. They should be protected. But military bases, it's even worse. These people are trained to use guns and they're trained to follow protocols. So if you put simple safety protocols in place, they're not going to be shooting each other with their guns. And that's the argument people make. Well, if they carry guns around every day, they're going to be having accidents. Everyone's going to be dying. Well, that wasn't happening before this regulation was passed. So this was a cure that had no disease. There was no reason for this. There was no reason to make this change. I mean, come on, to say it's too dangerous for soldiers to handle firearms on a daily basis, well, they're not going to be handling them. They'd just be carrying them on their hip. I carried a 9mm on my hip when I was in the military. That's what most of them would be carrying. It's not that dangerous, especially what they use, a Beretta M9. You've put that thing on safety with it decocked, and you're basically carrying a paperweight until you pull a really heavy trigger, so it's not dangerous. And heck, police officers carry guns every day, and how often do they actually legitimately need them? Not very often. It'd be real easy to use that same logic and say, well, policemen shouldn't carry guns every day because A, they're having accidents with them left and right, and B, they're pointing them at people that are innocent all the time, and sometimes they're even shooting guys that shouldn't be shot. In fact, they're doing it more often now than ever before, so maybe police shouldn't carry guns daily. It'd be too dangerous. But you don't see that argument from the powers that be because the same people that want the citizens disarmed definitely don't want their police forces disarmed. That's their own private little army. But that's another topic, and I digress a little bit. So this whole idea that it's dangerous for soldiers to have guns on base is just ridiculous. It's the same illogical reasoning where people say, oh, nowadays people have guns more than ever, it's easier to get than ever, and gun laws are loosening and people are being able to carry, but then they totally ignore the fact, well, that crime's going down, accidents with guns are going down, gun deaths total are going down. So obviously there's no reason to be throwing a fit. Why would you throw a fit about something that isn't a problem? I mean, whatever happened to, if it isn't broken, don't fix it, or if it's working, leave it alone. So in my opinion, getting engaged in this whole conversation is a bad thing to do from the beginning. We shouldn't be talking about this stuff. We shouldn't be politicizing it. We shouldn't be acting like this is some grand national tragedy, because it isn't. It's not a crippling blow. This is not a 9/11. This isn't even a particularly bad day in Detroit or on a major highway anywhere. So like I say, there are things we should be talking about, but it's not flags at half-mast. It's not who started this or whose fault is it they don't carry them. We should be talking about the fact that there's no reason for our soldiers or our children, etc., to be undefended in this country. We can protect them and we can do it safely. So like I said, there are things we should be taking from this, and there are things we should be talking about. But it isn't these political talking points that everyone seems to want to harp on. What we should be doing is simply mourning the deaths of these people and taking to heart the real lesson. And that lesson is, it doesn't do any good to demonize inanimate objects. And it doesn't do any good to pretend that you can stop bad guys from being bad guys simply by taking away their tools. Bad guys will always find the tools to wreak the destruction that they want to wreak. I think we all know that the best way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Because the only way to stop evil is to have more people that aren't evil that are capable of doing something about it when they see it happening.